Hello, in this video I'm going to demo how a for loop works. I hope you've already watched the video where I talk about the different parts of a for loop, the loop counter initialization, the body of the loop, the test expression or the loop condition, and then the step where we update the loop counter. So you should have already watched that. You should know that a for loop has 4 parts. Now let's actually write a for loop here in this little console application. And to make your life as easy as possible, I would say let Visual Studio write as much of the code for you as possible. And if you type the word FOR and hit tab twice, Visual Studio will actually stub out the loop for you. And it just assumes that you want a variable called I. You could change that. You can make it J or K or whatever you want. And it assumes, it throws in a placeholder here called length, which we're going to change. So length is underlined because we don't have a variable called length. And in between these curly braces, this is what we're trying to repeat. So in this step, we initialize our loop counter, and then we do the body of the loop. Then we add 1 to our loop counter. That's what I++ means. It means add 1 to I. And then we're going to test. Is I still less than length? If it is, we update the body of the loop, add 1 to the loop counter, and we keep going around and around and around until this middle condition here is false. When that middle condition is false, we'll jump down here outside of the loop. So let's put in some values here and see what this does. Let me change this from length. I'll just change it to 100. So we'll start off we'll make an integer called I, set it to 0, and as long as I is less than 100, we'll do the body of our loop and then add 1 to I. So let's see what this can do for us. If I hit CW and hit tab twice, let's just print I to the console. And if I just print out I, if I use right instead of right line, everything's going to get squished together. So let's watch what happens here. Boom, there it is. So what it did was it printed out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to 99, all on one line. So, but there's our numbers. It printed out the numbers 0 to 99, right? We started off I being 0, and the last number that was valid was 99. When this I got to be 100, 100 is not less than 100, so the loop condition is false, and we don't repeat the loop anymore. So let's just pretty that up a bit. Let me tack on a space. So now it'll print out I followed by a space. There you go, and you can see it printed out the numbers 0 to 99. Now let's change these numbers here and see what effect that has. Let's start off I being 1, and we'll say as long as it's less than or equal to 100, print I, add 1 to I. Keep going around and around. So watch what effect this has. Now the numbers go from 1 to 100. Right? Now what if instead of going up by 1s, what if we went up by 5s? What if we change this I++ to say I equals I plus 5? That's a longhand way of saying I. Yeah, there's shorter ways to write that, but what this does is it says add I, or take I, add 5 to it, assign it back to I. So instead of going up by 1s every time, now we're going to go up by 5s every time. So let's watch what this does. Why did we get that? I equals I plus 5. Let's debug it and see what happened here. So I is 6. Why is I 6? Oh, because we started off at, well, actually kind of seems to be working. Oh, so yeah, that was right. It printed out. Okay, so I just got goofed up because I thought I was going to go up 0, 5, 10, 15. Right, so it started at 1 and it's going up by 5 every time now, right? So what if I set this to be 0? Let's run it again. So there it is. Now we're going up by 5s. So that's how a for loop works. Now watch this. We don't have to just go up. Let's start it at 100, and we'll say as long as I is greater than or equal to 0, subtract 5 from I. So we'll do a loop that counts down. There it is. Now it counted down by 5s. So now what if we wanted each one of these numbers on a separate line? Well, instead of saying we could change this to be right line. That would work. So let's run that and see what that does. Okay, now you can see that they're all on a separate line. So that's the difference between right and right line. Now what if I just wanted to repeat this like 10 times or something? What if I want, let me go back to putting them all on one line here. And so what this is going to do, let's just make it a little bit smaller. Let's just say it prints out the multiples from 0 to 20, and it goes up by 5 every time. So let's run that and see what that does. There you go. Oh, we forgot our space. So let me tack on a space here, plus space. There you go. So now it's going up by 5s. Now, what if we wanted to repeat that a whole bunch of times? What if we wanted, for some reason, to print out this series of numbers 10 times? Well, let's make another for loop and put that loop in there. So now we've got a problem here. Our inner for loop is using I, and our outer for loop is using I. We can't have them both use the same variable. So let's change like the outer loop to be J or something, just a different letter. And we'll say as long as J is less than 10, so what's it going to do? So J is, this for loop is going to run 10 times. The outer loop will run 10 times. So what's it going to do? It's going to repeat this 10 times. So let's watch what it does. Why is it all? You can see it's printing out 0, 1, 2, 3, although it's going up by 5s. It's doing what it's supposed to do, but the problem is it's still all on one line. So how do we fix that? Well, after we've printed one line of numbers, let's print a carriage return. Console.WriteLine. We'll just write a blank line to the console, or we'll just write a carriage return character. Drop down to the next line. Drop down a line. So now what this is going to do is it will print the multiples of 5 and print a blank line. How many times will it do that? Well, it's going to do it 10 times because this code is wrapped in another loop that's going to run 10 times. So let's run that and see if that fixes our problem. There you go. So now we've got the number of those multiples of 5 printed out 10 times. Right, and again, you can change all of these numbers around to make it do different things. So that's for loops, and that's the effect that you get when you put a for loop inside a for loop. So if a for loop is kind of useful for if you write out values and then put that for loop inside of another for loop, now you're kind of getting ready to work with grid structures. And if you look at the screen, you'll see what we've got is kind of a grid, right? So each one of these that you see going across is the inner loop, and it repeated 10 times because it was inside an outer loop that told it to run 10 times. What if I make this like 15 times or 20 times? When I run it again. See, now it ran the outer loop ran more times. So hopefully that will be helpful. That gets you pretty close to the multiplication tables problem. You're going to have to tweak these numbers to because nobody cares about multiples of 0. And I don't know. I hope that's helpful.